Hello, everyone! It's time to return to not our roots, but more like the middle of the plant. Whatever the middle of the plant
The
was.
the
Like the
s- the
hefty.
stamen.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's a plant part.
it's time to get back to the stamen or the pestle. Those are plant things I remember from middle school.
What's the one of the I think the stamen is that the dick of a flower?
I think that's the pestle.
Oh, is the stamen the vagina of a
I
flower?
don't know.
Because
I'm gonna
aren't
have to
they
go
like
listen to the
they're pretty much
reproduction song from Greece, too.
well they're pretty much interchangeable, right? Like they're just kind of like
For me, they are.
they're like
Um,
seahorses.
so Hi, everyone! Today we're going back to taking a look at Jordan Peterson's latest piece of work, and that is Beyond Order 12 More
Yeah.
Rules for Life. As it turns out, our favorite Canadian vegetable man has written another book.
Wait, why'd you call him a vegetable man? He doesn't need those.
You know why I called him a vegetable man. Anyway, let's take a look.
Wow.
As you probably know, we did a pretty for us, for our channel, one of the more popular series we've done on this channel was our reading and discussion of Jordan Peterson's, not first book, that was Maps of Meaning, but his popular self-help book, 12 Rules for Life.
His first readable book.
Sure, marginal. Okay, I'll stop doing the little quips, I'm sorry. Anyway, we looked at that book and went through it and tried to look at what the book is saying outside of the obvious generic self-help advice. So we're here to do the same thing for the sequel.
Yeah. So if you need any sort of context whatsoever, well, first of all, of course, you need infinite amounts of context to understand Jordan Peterson. Okay, there's no amount of context you could have that's too much, unless you're us, apparently, because on Twitter, of course, where the Jordan Peterson fans are the most insecure. I was told that I didn't know anything about Jordan Peterson. Then, of course, was like, well, here's the content that we've done. We read every single page of his last book. And to which was, wow, you read way too much Jordan Peterson. What a loser. And it's like, that's just the book. The book is the amount that you should read of Jordan Peterson, right? Isn't that the ideal amount? Is the entire book?
We're Schrodinger's Jordan Peterson critics in that we have both not read enough for context on what he is actually trying to say, but also we have read too much and are obsessed with him. So
Yeah, so now the context has dwarfed into an obsession. When really it's just when someone does a thing and you critique things like we do, you got to do the thing. We have to. How do we know? We're not just gonna say, it's bad.
yeah.
What if it's a good book? What if we like this book?
You know
We
what?
could like this book.
We might come out of this book and say, you know what? The Coma did him good. I don't know.
I would like that. Speaking of comas, that's what the Overture's about.
Yep. Let's get
And that's what we're
started
reading.
with the book's intro.
The Overture, like the beginning of a classical music opera style, like a musical thing, right?
We
That's
know
what
what
an
an
overture
overture
is.
is.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
When I said classical overture music thing, people were like, "Yeah, that's exactly the definition of overture."
Yes! People know what words mean!
Yeah, but it's a book.
It begins. On the 5th of February, 2020, I awoke in an intensive care ward in, of all places, Moscow. I had a 6-inch tether attaching me to the sides of the bed because in my unconscious state, I had been agitated enough to try and remove the catheters from my arm and leave the ICU. So this is talking about Jordan Peterson's interesting foray into trying to get medical care in other countries. Didn't go well. For those who don't know what happened to Jordan Peterson, and I'm kind of a dick, but I'm not gonna actually make fun of like what happened here because it's actually really sad. Although I will point out some of the hypocrisy in the way he frames this stuff. Jordan Peterson, if you didn't hear, was addicted to benzos because of some stuff that had happened in his life. Some of his family had grown quite ill, which gets touched on in this chapter, and it induced a lot of anxiety in him, which is unfortunate. I understand that. I also deal with anxiety disorder, which led him to benzos to help him sleep, which became more and more, as happens with this kind of addiction. And at a certain point, he decided, I need to get off of these. But even though the doctors in Canada, I guess, and the United States said, hey, we just need you to kind of like step off of these as you do with like drugs that you become physically dependent on. We need you to slowly reduce your amount. He said, and his daughter said, no, I want to be placed in a medically induced coma.
Well, it was worse than that. It was worse than that.
Okay.
Because he decided to go cold turkey.
Yeah, okay, I should have said that.
Yeah. So
against medical advice, he decided to go cold turkey in a coma.
It's 2 layers worse than that as well. Okay, he didn't just go cold turkey. He went cold turkey off of benzos after he had asked for them specifically to because they're kind of more effective than stuff he was on for, in his own words. He had been on anti-anxiety stuff for 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years of his life. And this, he's a professional. He should know you can't just cold turkey stuff when you are being regulated, when your brain is being regulated for 15 years medically, especially with something like anti-anxiety medication. Like, this isn't like baby aspirin. This shit will fuck you up if you don't follow directions. And so his body, his brain was like, what the fuck going on? And I'm not surprised that he went through incredible withdrawals, because not only does he go cold turkey off of this, he tries 3 or 4 different times to cold turkey shit and is like, why am I having side effects? But with a Canadian accent. And it's like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, what? Did he actually get his education in this? I have no idea how he doesn't know this.
I think it has to do with the fact that it was, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if I want to even call it ego, but from what we read from his first book, he talks about other people's drug dependencies or addictions with a pretty derisive tone most of the time.
That's a very kind way for you to phrase that. He literally talked about his weed neighbor who was like a degenerate piece of shit and irredeemable because he smoked weed in the fucking apartment nearby. Yeah. And there was a drinker as well. I don't know. So it was nuts.
I think part of Peterson felt some sort of shame that he had become, dependent or addicted to the benzos, which there's nothing to be ashamed of. People deal with substance abuse, addiction,
He's the only drug addiction. Him and like anyone else who's a hypocrite about this, those are the people that actually deserve that side effect, because fuck off, man. I hope it humbles him. I hope he comes out on the other side of this and is like, I am no longer going to be this nasty person towards those who experience addiction, because addiction is fucking normal.
The cold turkey thing stems from, I think, him needing to be like, I'm not going to take medical advice on this. I have gumption. I'm not a real addict. I can just stop. Yeah. And it was like an ego thing. It was to try and separate himself in some way from his perceived view of other addicts or other people who were dependent on certain substances. So even though it was terrible and obviously bad advice considering the coma and the intensive like therapy he had to go through afterward, because there were complications from it that get touched on here too, I think in his mind he goes, well, I'm not one of those addicts that had to slowly step down. Even though he had to go to Russia and get in a coma, which of course most people don't have access to, he's going, I still just stopped. Hooray for me, Jordan Peterson, top lobster man, no longer addicted.
In a bougie way, it's pretty typical like behavior for someone who thinks that they can defeat their addiction without any help, right? Like, this isn't uncommon. It just manifested in a way that from a guy that had money. And his daughter and apparently her husband are the ones that like did the Russia thing. Initially, I was under the impression that he made that choice. He ended up making the choice to be in the coma. He doesn't make the choice to go to Russia specifically, according to this story. I don't know.
Yeah, let me dive back into some of what it's written here because I find it interesting. He says, in any case, I ceased using the benzodiazepine entirely in May of that year, trying 2 doses of ketamine within a week as suggested by a psychiatrist with whom I consulted. Ketamine, a non-standard anesthetic psychedelic, sometimes has overwhelming and sudden positive effects on depression. It produced nothing for me but 2 90-minute trips to hell. I felt to my bones as if I had everything to feel guilty and ashamed about, with nothing gained by my positive experiences.
Look,
Jordan Peterson fucking on goddamn ketamine.
Doing some special K. Okay, dude. Look, hey, again, You can't just cold turkey stuff and then go right into ketamine. I don't think that's really wise. I'm not a medical doctor, surprise, but I feel like this is like pretty common practice if you understand like just kind of how stuff is, not to go into highly like these are like big boy drugs. He is not doing like I don't know,
I
like
would
little mollies.
I would never recommend anyone take any sort of psychedelics that has lingering psychological issues or
Yeah.
hang-ups or like
Pretty
things
nutty.
that they're really tense about. Jordan Peterson is the last person on the planet I would ever recommend do psychedelics. Because I feel like his conscience would have some reckoning, you know? At some point you think he'd maybe be like, maybe I am the Red Skull. Maybe I need to stop.
Yeah, he's look. I'm glad that Jordan Peterson is also at least a little bit bad to himself, insofar as he's also bad to other people. But I think it seems to be out of hubris.
Yeah.
Like surprise, this guy has hubris, but I don't know. He's so capable of being correct about something, and he always goes like and does just a weird, like, this is not normal behavior for most people in his field at all, even if they have the same opinions, right? Like, this is like hardcore, like, delusions of being able to overcome chemical dependency.
In fairness, he also does the all meat thing, so let's not pretend that he's like super on board with typical medical.
Sure does. All right, and Michaela does
Good
as
point.
well, which is that's got to play into it. It's got to the mindset.
I almost skipped this part. Unfortunately, while these events unfolded, my health fell apart. I had begun to take anti-anxiety agents at the beginning of 2017 after suffering from what appeared to be an autoimmune reaction to something I had consumed during the Christmas holiday period of 2016. He's still acting like a glass of apple cider ruined his life.
Look,
We played that clip. He went on Joe Rogan at one point, and this was when Joe was in his old studio and wasn't being an anti-vaxxer piece of shit yet. He was a piece of shit for other reasons, don't worry, but he wasn't an anti-vaxxer yet. Anyway.
well, you can just work out. That's your own vaccine, okay?
Sure. So Jordan Peterson went on Joe Rogan and was like, I drank a glass of apple cider, which triggered an autoimmune response that I didn't sleep for, what did he say, 30 days? Did he say
He shattered the world record, apparently.
The world record for days without sleeping is 11, for those who don't know.
Shattered it.
And I think that guy died. Maybe that's a urban legend, though, but the record's like 11 days. And Jordan Peterson's like, this glass of apple cider, okay? Yeah. It's my who's a nemesis. I was gonna go for Dragon Ball Z, but then I remembered I don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z.
My Frieza.
It's my Frieza, sure.
It doesn't really apply whatsoever. That's fine.
It fucked him up.
It's kryptonite. It was his kryptonite.
Okay,
really.
that's probably better.
It put him on his ass because it has what's the thing in it?
Sulfites, I think.
Sulfates. Yeah, or something. Yeah. And
so.
Like you can have allergies to that thing. That's a thing.
Sure.
People can absolutely have negative reactions to it, but the degree by which he reports the severe side effects, I frankly do not believe that you shattered the world record in sleeplessness. I just don't do it.
Here's what I think probably happened. I would imagine this was around a time, especially considering the holidays can be stressful in the best of situations, much less when your wife has cancer and your daughter's having health issues as well.
Did you mention the cancer already?
I vaguely mentioned health issues, but
she had a little bit of cancer. She's fine for the record. She's fine. But at the time, it was like touch and go, and so he was stressed out.
And I have total sympathy for Jordan on that. Like, I 100%. Get it. Like, your partner, the person you love most in the world, has the potential of being in this fatal situation. I understand.
And I believe he loves Tammy. It sounds like he loves Tammy in a very trad way, but it's for them. They get to love each other however they want.
Sure.
Don't care.
So I think what probably happened is he had increasing anxiety attacks or something around the holidays due to a variety of family reasons and other stuff in life. And for some reason,
Michaela had some surgeries going on with her ankles and shit, which was in the last book.
I think he associated it with this cider for some reason because I don't think he wanted to admit to himself on some level, I'm just having he says in here, I was having anxiety issues, but I think he's underplaying it because he doesn't want to admit I was straight up having hardcore anxiety attacks constantly. So
Which is
instead,
weird.
he has to be like, I was having an autoimmune response to apple cider.
Hey,
Which,
weird
as
for a
he's a psychologist, he should be able to be like, hey,
look.
I'm a human being. I was having severe anxiety issues to the extent that they were like, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything. Instead of being like, it was the apple cider. It's not
Right?
the apple cider, Jordan.
I feel like a guy who wrote "Put Your House in Order." Isn't this part of that? Isn't coming to grips with the things that are your responsibility and like the reality of like your problem? Like we all cope in certain ways, but like outright denial is like early stages of even dealing with a thing. Then I haven't seen him because he's still writing this denial, right? He's still blaming the apple cider to this day
Yeah.
in this book. It doesn't seem to be changing unless later in the book he comes to grips with this. I don't know, and I hope he does. But right now, the overture, this sounds pretty stupid for a guy that is trying to tell other people how to live their life. And I'm not saying you can't give people advice and be a hypocrite yourself. Everyone's good at that. I know I am, but like this is like a level of hypocrisy that I think is just like it's his his fan base just doesn't seem to fucking key in on this stuff, and I don't know why.
He goes on, after about 3 months of terrible anxiety, uncontrollable hypersomnia, vicious, torturous, oh gosh, what's this word?
Akathisia.
Akathisia.
I learned it on stream.
Thank you. And excessive appetite, I traveled to an American clinic that claimed to specialize in rapid benzodiazepine withdrawal. Despite
Point of note, akathisia is like super intense, like restless leg syndrome, I guess. Like you feel fucking uncomfortable all the time. Sounds terrible.
Yeah. Despite the good intentions of many of its psychiatrists, the clinic managed only a slow cessation or tapering of my benzodiazepine dosage, the negative effects of which I was already experiencing and which were not and could not be controlled to any significant degree whatsoever by the inpatient treatment offered. Now, I want to point out here that his definition here, this clinic claims that they do rapid detoxes from benzos, right? Now, he says they only managed a slow cessation tapering of my benzos. So by his own definition, it cannot be rapid if there's any sort of tapering or stepping down of dosage. Even though I would imagine they're probably stepping down much quicker than you would get at a different facility that doesn't advertise itself as being fast.
But here's the same thing, or I guess I mean not the same thing, but here's the thing about that, because like it's probably rapid for benzodiazepine withdrawal. He even says I was they only managed a slow cessation of tapering, the negative effects of which I was already experiencing. So he was experiencing the effects of what is rapid for benzos with a what he considered a slow tapering. He doesn't give a time frame, of course. That was probably the way to go, and even more, it was probably still too fast, because like you're not supposed to be able to really undo that fast because your brain is imperfect. Our brains cannot just like mind over matter this shit. You need to fucking work it. It sucks because, especially because of something like this. And at this point, I think he's off the antidepressants altogether, which is bad. Like he just cold turkey's fucking everything. His brain's fucking going nuts. We had a friend recently that like had a change in dosage of their brain pills, whatever they take them for, and very similar thing. And it wasn't even their fault. It was just like, oh, I missed a day, and then oof, this is really big. And I don't know if you've experienced this, probably. Just if you just fuck that up a little bit, it can like really mess with you. So I mean, like on one hand, I'm like, oh man, that really sucks. Like that's rough. That's a rough go of it. But at the same time, it's like you're literally choosing this every time it happens. It's not an accident. You're not just like, oh, I was on tour and shit got out of hand and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm going to cold turkey and power through this as a top lobster. It's like, don't do this.
He continues, as I later learned, Michaela and Andre,
It's
Ooh,
probably Andre.
My bad. As I later learned,
It's got a Y at the end in Hannah's defense. It looks a little weird.
As I later learned, Michaela and Andre removed me from the Toronto hospital in early January 2020, believing that the treatment I received there was doing me more harm than good, an opinion I concurred with entirely once I learned of it. I would not want Michaela Peterson making any healthcare-related decisions for me, ever. For those who don't know, Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter, advocates for a what does she call it? A lion diet or a carnivore diet?
Basically, I think it's a carnivore diet, but I don't know what it's.
Opposite of a vegetarian. Only eats meat. And hey, you know, I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. I'm completely fine with eating meat. I'm not big on factory farming, but like, I get it. Meat can taste good. Understandable. But you need other things too, other than just red meat all the time. That's not good. You're gonna die. I mean, we're all gonna die, but you're gonna die sooner if that's how you eat. I say this as someone who eats like shit, okay? Do as I say, not as I do. Here's what it says. I was the primary so that the clinic could facilitate... Oh, sorry. I was there primarily so that the clinic could facilitate my withdrawal from benzodiazepines using a procedure either unknown or regarded as too dangerous in North America. He does an interesting thing here where he claims... Oh, this is how Jordan Peterson works a lot, in that he uses tricky language, let's call it. He implies that it can't be primarily because it's too dangerous, according to the doctors. Maybe doctors in America haven't even heard of this treatment being a medically induced coma to go cold turkey on benzos. No, they know that's a thing. They told you, Jordan, that that's dangerous and they wouldn't do it because they didn't want to be liable for what happened, which is exactly what happened. It fried your brain.
So I looked up why it fried his brain. So he says that when he was doing that rapid detox, he stayed from mid-August to November. And for someone who doesn't know, that's almost 2 months, or almost 3 months. It's like 2.5 months. I just looked at it. He undercut himself by about 75% of a year. Apparently, benzodiazepine withdrawal, the protracted withdrawal symptoms can last up to 12 months or longer. And he, like, I'm sure they told him this. He hasn't mentioned this in the book, and I'm assuming it's because he doesn't want people to go like, well, yeah, it's supposed to take longer than that, Jordan. Take the time to do that. Just wild. And so he's like, no, put me in a coma, get me out of here. And I mean, like, honestly, it takes him about a year anyway, like, on the timetable.
Yeah,
it's not that much faster, and it was obviously much more horrifying. I agree with you. Like, this is not like what you just read is like fucking, that's not the way to go about it. It literally, coma time. Okay, all right, okay, shouldn't be doing that.
So after that, after the coma and everything, he says, when you're visited by chaos and swallowed up, when nature curses you or someone you love with illness, or when tyranny rends asunder something of value that you have built, it is salutary to know the rest of the story. All of that misfortune is only the bitter half of the tale of existence, without taking note of the heroic element of redemption, or the nobility of the human spirit requiring a certain responsibility to shoulder. We ignore that addition to the story at our peril, because life is so difficult that losing sight of heroic parts of existence could cost us everything. We do not want that to happen. We need instead to take heart, and to take spirit, and to look at things carefully and properly, and to live the way that we could live. I did not miss the overly verbose way in which Jordan Peterson says things. All he had to say here, and I'm not saying this is eloquent. If I'm writing a book, I'd probably put it a little better than this, but basically, hey, look on the bright side. There are bad things in life, but there are also good things in life. Sure. Instead, he writes this flowery paragraph, and I'm not even making fun of flowery prose, but it is not appropriate for what he is writing here. Like, this is not the time to opine with just like, oh, let me just say something that could take one sentence in a whole paragraph
Well,
because no reason, really. I just want to do it.
I mean, this isn't even like shade, but he didn't do like any of the heroic shit. He
No.
went into a coma and avoided that.
Yeah.
Like
He
the
actively
heroic
avoided
thing,
the heroic thing, which would have been to suck up his ego and just go through the withdrawals, which would have
and
sucked, but it would have been the healthier thing to do.
and the correct way to go about that from a medical standpoint, and also like consider the idea, like I he went into this because Tammy, his wife, was having health problems and serious ones. She had cancer and stuff. It got taken care of, and again, she's fine. Insofar as I know, Michaela had some surgery and stuff. He loves these people. He had anxiety and stuff, and sure, he probably wasn't in his right mind when he made these decisions. I'm fine with, I can have empathy for Jordan Peterson, in these ways. It's not like anyone's perfect or anything, but also those people don't go and tell you how to live your life.
Yeah.
And write self-help books, and so I put
Remember
him on
when the first book said,
standard.
make sure you like clean your room before you start telling the world what to do, and then the ironic thing is Jordan Peterson wrote a whole book telling people what to do and how to live their lives while he was actively dealing with a severe anxiety disorder and a drug addiction.
Like, settle those things and then be like, okay, what do you learn on the other side of that, and then write your fucking book, man. It's not like we're not all works in progress, but I mean, like, that's a pretty big work to not progress on before you write your self-help book, man. Like, he's telling other people how they can't, like, it's just making the last book, worse. It's just making all the advice in it more, like, I don't know, out one side of his mouth and the other side. I mean, he's talking out both sides. It's just like frustrating. Like, because he's not necessarily wrong about something like, hey, make sure you have your shit together before you start determining how other people's shit together looks. But that's not really what he says later with that, and it's certainly not how he lives. So it's just wild shit.
Is it not possible, even though it may not always deliver us from the terrible situation that we find ourselves in, that we would all be more able to deal with uncertainty, the horrors of nature, the tyranny of culture, and the malevolence of ourselves and others if we were better and more courageous people? The tyranny of culture, I can't call people the T slur. The tyranny of culture.
Imagine if a Marxist wrote that. He would take umbrage with every word of that if a Marxist wrote that. The same sentence. No change, no letter. I'm just saying. Tyranny of culture. Come on, dude.
If we strive towards higher values, if we were more truthful, wouldn't the beneficial elements of experience be more likely to manifest themselves around us? Is it not possible, if your goals were noble enough, your courage adequate, your aim at truth unerring, that the good thereby produced would, well, not justify the horror? Basically, like, be courageous and good, and it'll justify all the bad that happens in the world.
You can't enjoy a sunny day without a little rain. And in this case, rain is Benzo Coma.
He goes on to try and justify, like, why this book? Why are we doing this book now? You already did the first one. Wasn't that enough, Jordan?
Oh, he mentions the trusty place where he gets all of his the fuel for his ego. Did you see that?
No, what did he say?
Well, of course he said, huh, this 12 rules for life comes out of the explicit rules drawn from a longer list of 42. The ones that were originally published and very popular on the Q&A website Quora.
I remember now. He put that in. Like, you have a best-selling book. Why are you still bragging about your post on Quora? Jordan, what are you doing?
10,000 likes on Quora or some shit. Jordan, dude, you just literally go like, print out a picture and slip it into the cover of every book of this, and just go, the sales numbers for 12 Rules for Life. That's a flex. Quora's weird. It's just a weird. You sold a successful book. Admittedly, you did very well with it, in spite of my dislike for it. You can just flex with that now. Quora's like, no one uses it. It's like Yahoo Answers. Or
Yahoo
Google
Answers is
Answers.
gone now. They
So is
deleted
Google
it from the internet.
Rip. Did you watch the etiquette thing as well?
No.
Oh, internet comment etiquette made one on that.
Nice.
It was
I
good.
was his Twitter banner for a while.
Are you still, or has that
No,
changed?
he changed it at some point.
Okay, probably once he found out you came out.
He changes it every once in a while.
You were there for like a year.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, anyway, he's great. I guess that makes him a friend of the show.
No, it doesn't.
Friend of the show.
You have such a loose definition of friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
By that definition, the apple cider that poisoned Jordan Peterson is a friend of the show.
By that definition, Stofers is a friend of the show. So our Hot Pockets.
Anyway, he justifies...
Stofers doesn't follow me on Twitter, though. Is that weird?
He justifies it by saying, neither the state of order nor the state of chaos is preferable intrinsically to the other. That's the wrong way to look at it. Nonetheless, in my previous book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, I focused more on how the consequences of too much chaos might be remediated. So basically, he's saying, you know how my last book was called An Antidote to Chaos? Where did you get the idea that chaos is inherently bad from? I just called it an antidote to chaos. You know, an antidote, the thing that you use to counter poison. And I talked about how bad chaos was, and it's a dragon, and it's bad. But in this book, we're going to be like, hey, here's how chaos can be positive or something.
Chaos. You want to know where I got this benzodiazepine dependence? The social media manager for Steakums also follows me and knows, watches our content. Just tossing that out there. Steakums, pretty based company.
I'm just imagining...
Unless you are a vegan, in which case they are clearly not very based.
I'm imagining Jordan Peterson as Shadow the Hedgehog. Chaos control!
Oh, I was imagining Jordan Peterson watching this and being like, can't believe fucking Steakums follows this idiot. I'm so jealous. There you go, Jordan. Can't beat that, can you? Yeah. So apparently this is gonna be like, Joker meme, hand the revolver to Two-Face, the book. So I'm pretty excited about that. Do we want to read the preface to these? Because I think the preface to these are probably inaccurate, but it's up to you what you want to do here.
Oh, I wanted to keep them secret.
Okay.
What the different rules are going to be.
He does specifically, again, admit God. He says, God himself, only God himself knows what the worst might be. We must, in our ignorance, prepare for all eventualities. God himself is capitalized. Look, just tell us you're a Christian. It's fine. Don't be a crypto Christian, because then it's weird, right? It's icky to me. It makes it icky. If you're just honest about it, you're like, I'm a Christian. You don't have to be, whatever. Then your wording doesn't come across as like, well, although in the last book you said you should live like Jesus, but you know, it became pretty preachy at the end. It was really weird. That book ended up being weird.
Yeah.
Like I forget parts of it sometimes because I don't think about it. And then when we go back and look at it, it's just like, oh, here, be on the top of the sexual hierarchy. You deserved all the bad things that happened to you, you drunk loser lady. Oh, you did weed? You're not my friend anymore, bro. Also, live biblically, please. Have a nuclear family.
What benzos would Jesus have done? That's the real question.
Well, Jesus would never have had to do benzos because he's perfect.
I hope
Jesus would do ketamine though. That's true. He's a pretty cool guy.
The Jesus crucifixion story is really just an allegory about how he's stuck in a K-hole for 3 days. And then he finally was like...
Someone moved the... He just couldn't figure out how to unlock his door for 3 days.
He finally does it, like, he has risen!
The fucking K-hole. That's amazing. Oh, God. Is there anything else that we want to do? I mean, the first chapter in this is what? What's it called?
The first chapter is...
We're coming up.
Do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement.
Okay,
ironically, he calls many social institutions cultural Marxism at this point, so that's kind of funny. But
by the way,
Yeah.
signed this. This is my signature. I guess I don't know why I signed it. I was trying to see if my pen worked, and then I signed this book. So I guess at the end of this, maybe we'll do like a charity thing or something. We'll get rid of the Jordan Peterson.
I don't know
book.
if anyone wants your copy of or my copy of Jordan Peterson.
I don't know why you
signed
think
by you or me.
literally when I said that, there were a couple of people who were like, how much? Named price.
That price better be between $1 and $4. No shipping.
I don't think it is. So next time we will read that. What? How the point of pointing? What should we point to? How many pages is it? Let's see how many pages it is. Oh, I don't want it to be many more pages than that. Oh no! Oh God! So much. It's so much. It's still rule 1. No.
Yeah.
Fuck. Shit. Okay, rule 1
wordy.
is a fucking big boy. Oh man, I don't like that. Rule 1 is 47 and a quarter pages.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
it's all right. It's big font.
I will do that. Okay.
Okay, that's Jordan Peterson's 12 More Rules for Life.
No.
We're in it.
Oh, no,
we're in it. Just the tip, though. We're only in the overture, okay?
All right.
We're going to get all the way to Jordan Peterson book's cervix.
Is that the end of the book?
Yes.
Is the cervix the end of the body? The mouth is the top of the butthole. That's true. That's a true fact.
All right, you can always follow me on youtube.com/Hannah Reloaded, twitch.com or twitch.tv/Hannah Reloaded, and at Hannah Reloaded on Twitter.
You can follow me at Actual Jake on those things. On Twitter, I'm Actual Corn. Actual Jake is already taken by some guy who's not me, and they don't let me have it. He hasn't used it in forever. I think he's suspended too. Like, what the fuck, man? Anyway, yeah, but you can come and hang out. We do a lot of good stuff, and you'll find out who friends of the show are.
Tyra Banks, friend of the show.
Tyra Banks is not a friend of the show. Very problematic.
Jeff Bezos, friend of the show.
Via Twitch Prime, maybe.
Yeah.
If he tier 3 subs after a little bit, I think maybe I'll consider Jeff Bezos a friend of the show. But he's
Elon Musk,
down.
friend of the show.
Elon Musk is your obsessive compulsive disorder. You know who is a friend of the show? Bryson Gray. Friend of the show.
Bryson has been going on a nonstop like homophobic tirade on Twitter for like a month and a half now, and it's honestly pretty funny. Not that, being homophobic is funny, I'm in the LGBT community, but like his nonstop temper tantrum is a little funny that he's still mad about it.
Yeah, I don't know why you would ever be mad about that, but whatever. I don't care.
How do you think his record sales are doing?
Good for him.
All right.
Good for him.
This is any final words?
John Mulaney's trending. Let's see. John Mulaney out of rehab, doing better, and has announced a first set of comedy shows. Boom! Congratulations, John Mulaney. Opposite of Jordan Peterson. A good guy who has addiction problems, who talks about them openly and honestly, and is like, you know what? I'm an imperfect human, incapable of telling other people how to live their life, but I just want to make people happy. That's a fucking top lobster. John Mulaney. Congrats, buddy. Friend of the show. He's not a friend of the show. But I would love him to be. That'd be something that he should not do. But in my interest, he should. Absolutely. So.
Okay, so until next time, this is friend of the show, Hannah.
Friend of the show, Jake.
We're all friends of the show. The friends of the show were the friends we made along the way.
Damn right. Damn right.